So Gavin Newsom found a way to blame Donald Trump for the LA riots. And this is not clickbait, this actually happened. And he also said that Trump is a stone cold liar in this recollection of a phone call that he had. And at no point that Gavin Newsom trying to bring the LA riots into the topic, and no, Trump kept refusing. But let's analyze his body language to see if he is telling the truth or what is really going on in here. I'm going to play the clip first, and then we are going to go step by step.
We talked for almost 20 minutes, and this issue never came up. I mean, I kept trying to talk about LA. He wanted to talk about all these other issues. We had a very decent conversation.
When was this?
This was late Friday night, I think about 1:30 plus his time.
After the protests had started here?
After the protests, and he never once brought up the National Guard. He's a stone-cold liar. He said he did. Stone-cold liar. Never did. It was a very civil conversation. I've always wanted to approach engagement with the President of the United States in a respectful and responsible way. But there's no working with the President. There's only working for him. And I will never work for Donald Trump.
I will never work for Donald Trump. So Gavin Newsom wants to have this, bravado attitude that he's standing against Trump. And Trump apparently said that he brought up the possibility of bringing the National Guard to Los Angeles. And he says that, no, he never brought that up. There are a couple of things in here. When he is speaking, I noticed a nervous rictus and with, have a flashing smile, a bit of a smile. It is, we cannot say if it's a contempt smile, but there's absolutely a tension in his left cheek that when he says that we talk for almost 20 minutes. I'm going to give him a pass on this one, saying that perhaps it was not 20 minutes, maybe it was 15 minutes, but he can stretch the truth in something that is not consequential, then it's fine by me. So we continue to the next point.
Barely this issue.
He does a regular shoulder shrug. This issue never came up. The issue of bringing the National Guard to, do something about the LA riots that have been absolutely horrific. The images of burning everywhere are, it's like a third world stuff.
Issue never came up. I mean, I kept trying to talk about LA.
And this is the most important thing. This is the most important body language feature that I saw that is against Newsom's usual body language baseline. He doesn't usually bring his head back. He usually speaks in a very relaxed and he keeps his chest open. That he has that psychopath charisma. He doesn't usually brings his head back, but actually forward, and keeps his chin a bit up, just a bit up over the horizon. Nothing too exaggerated. That you strike a balance for that charisma. But in this case, I noticed that he was keeping his neck really tense, bringing his head back, saying about that, he kept trying to talk about Los Angeles. That Newsom tried to talk about Los Angeles with Trump, and all of a sudden he brings his head back. He's afraid of something. He has had this resistance to something, and that's what his body language is saying.
At LA, you want to talk about all these other issues. We had a very decent conversation.
We had a very decent conversation, and all of a sudden, when he says that, I spotted a fear flash. You see his eyes. I'm going to do this so you can see his eyes. Only his eyes. It's easier if you spot that subtle micro expression at that very instant. He does this with his eyes. That was fear happening in that exact moment. We would have a decent conversation. Maybe the conversation was not as decent. Maybe they were trying to outplay each other.
When was this?
This was late Friday night, I think about 1:30 plus his time.
After the
I would say that lip pressing and the evading with her head to one side and then shaking his head. I mean, it could be an emphasis gesture, but I don't know. It's about 1:30 plus his time. I don't see any reason to lie about the time of the call. The time of the call is not important in this case. The call could have been at any time. Maybe the time of the call is important to whatever events unfolded, maybe on Twitter unfolded on real time. So the time of the call might be something that he wants to make it seem that it was at certain time, but it was not really at that time. Maybe it is important. We should check that part.
His time.
After the protests had started.
After the protests, and he never once brought up the National Guard. He's a stone-cold liar.
There's a out of focus effect because the cameraman was trying to focus the thing in the back, the riots at the back. But even so, we can say that when he's about to say that Trump is a stone-cold liar, he was looking at the interviewer and suddenly he looks away. He doesn't look at the interviewer in the eye, but he looks away when he says that. And he says that Trump is a stone-cold liar because Trump claims that he absolutely brought the topic of the National Guard, speaking with a Newsom, but he says, Newsom says, he said he did, Trump says he did, and he repeats, he is a
stone-cold liar.
He uses those pauses for emphasis, but he's still looking away from the journalist. He's not looking to the guy who is interviewing him in the eye. That is interesting.
Never did.
And
Never.
Then he uses that. He says this disjointed remark, never did, right before basically switching gears into the next part. I'm looking away, the disjointed remark, he was not that confident. He wanted to project confidence, but that held back the looking away, the disjointed remark. I think that Newsom was mostly terrified of this.
It was a very civil conversation. I've always wanted to approach engagement with the President of the United States in a respectful and responsible way.
I noticed that right after saying that Trump was a stone-cold liar, you see that his blinking rate is okay, no big deal, but all of a sudden, after saying those words, his blinking rate, pay attention to his eyes, is going up. He begins to blink faster.
Cold liar. Never did. It was a very civil conversation. I've always wanted to approach engagement with the President of the United States in a respectful and responsible way.
He wanted to do the things in a respectful and responsible way, as in, I'm a respectful and responsible governor. I'm a respectful and responsible person, and I want to have this conversation in such a way. But you see that he is looking, again, away from the person he's talking to, and he does this bait check. It's when you try to check if the person that you're talking to is buying your words. It's taking the bait about, oh, I'm being this, I'm so over this is the word. It's I'm so, beyond this. I'm so beyond this. This is Trump is not a good person.
Way, but there's no working with the president. There's only working for him, and I will never work for Donald.
I will never work for Donald Trump. He keeps looking away. So maybe you would say that he was looking at the camera, something that was happening away or something in the rights. But you should be focused on the conversation as he was at the beginning. He was had way more instances of having eye contact. The moment that he began to say that Trump was a stone-cold liar and he was trying to have a decent conversation with him, he began looking away. And for me, in my opinion, that keeping the head back when somebody acts against his own body language baseline, that is the oddest thing. That is when you say, okay, this is simply out of place. But I would love to know what do you think about this in the comments. Remember to download my free 100 body language tips right in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. Much love and bliss.